You know those two guys from work who won't shut up about football, but are pretty damn entertaining? Well, they decided to buy a couple microphones. And with that, we welcome you to the Cheesy Corn Sports Podcast, where Justin Adams and Martin Cheney wrangle over everything college football and NFL. Bold predictions, hot takes, and live game reactions. This is Cheesy Corn Sports. And now, here's your hosts, Justin and Martin.
Hello, and Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy
Christmas,
holidays,
everybody.
Happy Kwanzaa. I don't know if that's how that works. I don't know if Kwanzaa's today too. But whatever you celebrate, happy, merry, whatever that is. Cheney, Merry Christmas,
Yes.
man. How you doing today?
Good, man. Merry Christmas.
We had a great Saturday slate of games. Pretty good games, all things considered. I wasn't too I guess I was expecting to be disappointed because of all the bad weather games.
Yeah.
It actually turned into a lot of good games. So at least we were able to have the treat of that whilst watching in sub-zero temperatures most of the time. So
Yeah.
what we can do is we can go over on certain picks. We'll kind of brush through those and then get into the games today.
Let's do it.
Actually, if you want, we can go ahead and start going over the games today and then get into the recaps of yesterday's games.
Okay.
So
Sounds good to me.
let's go ahead and start with the one you are most interested in, Green Bay, Miami. And I'll let you go ahead and take over this one.
Well, so this is a very, very big game for real football implications here. Every single thing that Green Bay needed to have happen yesterday, they needed the Seahawks to lose, the Commanders to lose, the Giants to lose, and the Lions to lose. Every single one of those things happened. Now they have to beat the Dolphins today. If Green Bay wins out, which they have Miami, Detroit, and Minnesota left, if they win out and if Washington loses one of their final three games, Green Bay makes the playoffs.
Washington loses. So Washington has to lose one of their final three.
One of their final three. Or the Giants have to lose two of their final three. So
A lot of things to go right, but first things first, you need to win this game.
Correct. All the assistance in the world doesn't mean anything if Green Bay can't put their own stuff out on the field. So it's a big game. Green Bay typically doesn't do that well in warmer weather. However, it's only going to be 50 degrees today in Miami. So as far as warmer weather goes, it's really not that warm for Miami purposes. So there is that.
Yeah.
Switching over to go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, especially consider 50 is kind of hot compared to the other games.
Yeah, 100%.
Be 54.
Yeah. Now, switching over to the fantasy side of things, right? Aaron Jones, I'm expecting Aaron Jones to have a big day against this Miami defense. Miami's defense has been very hit or miss.
Yep.
I mean, like looking at it, right? They only get they do well against the teams that they're supposed to do well against, and they kind of are disappointing against the teams that they're not supposed to be good against. Like they gave up 38 to the Jets in week 5, give up 32 to Chicago in week 9. Their past 3 games, they've given up over 20 points each. And Justin, I think we're losing your camera connection. It keeps flickering in.
All right. Give me 1 second. if you wanna take over real quick, I'm gonna restart and then I'll
Absolutely.
hop back in.
Perfectly fine.
All right.
All right. So, yeah, as I was saying, Miami's defense hasn't been doing that well against some of the tougher opponents. So it really is going to come down to which type of Green Bay team shows up today. Um, if you have Aaron Jones, you're definitely firing him up. I expect a big day out of him. I need a big day out of Aaron Jones myself. AJ Dillon, he kind of concerns me. Like, he's been doing well. He's put up 17 plus points for the past 3 games. But that being said, AJ Dillon is what we like to call a cold weather running back. He doesn't do as much in the warmer games than he does in the cold games. Every single one of AJ Dillon's breakout games has come in the cold weather, which is perfect for Green Bay. But, with the little bit of warmer weather, it's going to be interesting to see if that plays. Excuse me. If that plays a role. Now, Christian Watson. I think you can feel comfortable starting Christian Watson because even without a touchdown last week, right? He still got 6 targets, which is pretty on par with what he's been getting. The 4 catches, 46 yards. He's been doing well. That, it is what it is. Outside of his 4-game stretch of Mr. Touchdown, this was actually the second most points he scored this season. It was 8.6, was a little disappointing, but I think, they were on the goal line at the end of the game last week against the Rams. If he catches a little sign that Aaron Rodgers throws his way, he's looking back and he catches a touchdown, and just like that 8 points jumps up to about 15, 16-ish points. And that's perfectly fine. Allen Lazard should be okay for a flex option. He only had 2 targets last week, which is kind of concerning. His target share kind of peaked in that week 4 to 9 range, and then ever since week 9, he's only had 1 game. Fuck, man. Excuse me. And sorry about that, folks. I'm a little tired. A little Christmas Eve party last night. Wake up, get back in, put in more work. So, but anyway, since week 9, Allen Lazard only has 1 game over 6 targets. And even that, he has 2 games, 1 of 6 or more. The rest of them have been 4 targets or under. 4 targets a week 10, 3 targets week 12, and 2 targets last week against the Rams. I think you could emergency start Romeo Doubs. He had a very small snap count last week against the Rams. However, they put him out there to get him the ball. They also put him out there to, really get him back from his injury, really make sure that he was good to go, which is the right way to do things. He still registered 10.5 fantasy points, 5 catches on his 5 targets for 55 yards, 5s across the board. Let's see if we can get that number up this week, right? This is only the 2nd game that Aaron Rodgers will have his full complement of receivers with Christian Watson, Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, and Romeo Doubs. They even have Samori Toure. So, I mean, Torrey's a decent receiver. I wouldn't start him this week though. But for dynasty purposes, you could definitely stash him just because Green Bay released Sammy Watkins. And so keep moving up the depth chart. Torrey's probably sitting around 5th right now on the depth chart. So good things to come, hopefully, in the coming years. I would stay away from the tight ends, Romeo Tunyon or Robert Tunyon, DeGuara. You can stay away from them. Mason Crosby, if you have kickers in your league, Mason Crosby is about as decent as they come. Okay. I would expect Aaron Rodgers to throw at least 2 touchdowns in this game. And then Aaron Jones, I would expect to get a tutty as well. Switching over to Miami. Miami is such a fun team to watch play football. Tua Tagovailoa has had an exceptional season. He's currently QB 14 on the season, which last year he was QB 26. So the progression is real. And that's really been the story of it, right? QB progression. Last year, on 388 attempts, he threw for 2,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, 10 picks. This year, on 13 less, just 13 less attempts. So very comparable numbers. He has thrown for 3,200 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. That's it. So the progression for Tua Tagovailoa, I mean, the addition of Mike McDaniel has been a godsend for the likes of Tua Tagovailoa and this offense. Green Bay has a sneaky way of getting a couple turnovers on defense each week. So, do watch out for that. However, Tyreek Hill, I think, has the ability to run rampant against this defense. He's going to get his 10-plus targets that he usually averages. He's going to get 8-9 catches, probably going to get a touchdown. He is the wide receiver 2 on the season in both standard and PPR formats. Go ahead, go nuts, Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle, probably going to be the same thing. He has had about 3 straight down weeks, actually. He had 2 down weeks against San Francisco and the Chargers. Last week, it would have been a down week, but the big playability was on display. He only had 3 catches, but 114 receiving yards and a touchdown for said 3 catches is not something to shy away from, right? So Jalen Waddle, as long as he can get back involved in it, which I think he will. Rasul Douglas is the corner 2 for Green Bay. He's not an outside corner. I love Rasul Douglas. He's a great tackler, but he's a better slot corner than anything, or even just I would love to see them put Rasul Douglas back in like a hybrid safety linebacker nickel corner kind of role. That would be interesting, but he's not an outside corner. Eric Stokes being hurt, not a great thing. Raheem Mostert, very fast, and one thing that Green Bay struggles against the most is speed, especially coming out of the backfield, whether it's the quarterback or running back. Their run defense is bad. They have Kenny Clark, Devondre Campbell is back. Quay Walker has been showing up as well, so is Devontae Wyatt. But outside of those core 4, it just really hasn't been all sunshine and daisies for that run defense in Green Bay. As far as that goes, that's kind of those are the relevant fantasy pieces of this game here. Looks like we have Justin back now. Probably not going to spend that much time on the rest of the games, especially the likes of Denver and the Rams or the Cardinals. We all know how Justin feels about the Cardinals.
Very good team.
And anyone not named DeAndre Hopkins, I believe, was the slogan of yesterday. So
yeah.
Looks like we got him back now, though.
All right,
Justin, I turn it back over to you. I went pretty in detail on the Green Bay Miami game. Is there any notes that you wanted to throw in on it?
Yeah. Really, my biggest thing is I love watching the Dolphins play, and I'm apologize in advance. I want to see Jalen Waddle go completely insane. So
yeah,
but I do. Okay, I'll root for your Packers to win, but I'm talking maybe a 54-60 type of game.
You know what? If that happens, that means there were points fucking put up, and I love it. So I'm okay.
As long as y'all win.
I'm okay with it.
No, not too much to say on that. We can go ahead and move on to the Denver-Los Angeles game.
Okay, go ahead, take it away.
All right, so the over-under in this one is, well, hold on, it's pulling up here. Over-under in this one's 36, very low. Not a whole lot of offense expected. I mean, that's probably about the over-under. It's probably about right. Rams got old Bake Mayfield. Rams are +3 right now. So what we kind of talked about last week, and we alluded to it last week with Baker, right? I'd mentioned it just kind of Baker tricking everybody again.
Yeah.
Where he'll come out and he'll have some kind of performance. And last week it was the performance where he came out, 2 days, came out on the field, ran the offense for a little bit, and ended up winning the game. Now, the thing is, if you point to the rest of that game, he didn't do anything. But what people remembered was the very ending of that game where he drove them down the field 90 plus yards. And for some reason, they're running man coverage against them. And he was able to take advantage of it, drop a dime in the end zone. They caught it and they win. And then after that, of course, all the memes come, all the hoopla that comes with Baker Mayfield having a performance like that in LA too. It was a perfect storm for him. I think people got a little too high on old Baker there. Because Baker is what he is. We know what Baker is. He is a below, I will say he's kind of like an average, slightly below average quarterback. And that's what we get with him. He's never going to be anything more than that. It's time we accept that. And that's why this game is going to be a whole lot of so what I'm looking for, not good football. I feel like.
Mediocre, pedestrian.
Yeah.
Insert other average, below average synonym here.
It's like on a scale of on how good this game is going to be, on a scale of 0 to Tom Brady, we're at Baker Mayfield. That's the best way I can put it. So yeah, I'm Russ is back in this one. I think the Broncos are going to have a fairly good day. I think I don't think the Rams are going to be able to do much consistent anything with their offense. They might come out and they might, score a couple times, but I don't think they're going to have any kind of consistency. I don't think they're going to be able to put drives together. And I think the Broncos are going to kind of just, impose their will on them a little bit. Latavius Murray was questionable. Was he?
Latavius Murray says he's ready to play.
Cool. So Latavius Murray's in there. Don't expect, temper your expectations with Latavius Murray. Courtland Sutton, you're starting.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean that's about all I got from it. It was just more so touching on the Baker Mayfield side of things and the fact that like let's temper our expectation and be careful. Just assuming that your Higbees and all that stuff are going to have a good day. You got to pay attention to who's at quarterback and be mindful of the fact that he might not be able to get them the ball much. So when you're making your start-sit decisions, if you have multiple options at certain positions, take that into account.
Yep.
But yeah, anything from you on this one?
I like Greg Dulcich in this game. Rams defense, just outside of like the Bobby Wagner, Jalen Ramsey, outside of the big names, they just really don't have a lot of. They don't really have a lot of juice in covering all pieces of an opposing offense. And I mean, this Denver offense still does have some pieces, right? They do have Courtland Sutton, they do have Jerry Jeudy. So I mean, your secondary is going to be packed in with them. I'm not saying Latavius Murray is a weapon by any means, but the man did just register 130 yards and a touchdown on the ground last week. 24 carries. Maybe Nathaniel Hackett says, hey, you know what? That really worked for us last week. We got a win behind Latavius Murray. Let's roll with it. I'm not saying it'll happen, but if I'm thinking in the mind of the coach there, kind of going with the hot hand approach at running back, just at this point, you got to look at what's working and just go with that. But before Greg Dulcich was without Russell Wilson, he was registering some decent target numbers. He had 8 targets against Kansas City, 8 targets against Baltimore. He has another game in there with 9 targets, and then a bunch of others between like 3 and 5 targets. So in the right position, I think you could, as an emergency start, you could definitely use Greg Dulcich there. Higbee, I think Higbee's going to get a good amount of targets and receptions. But the issue is they're all going to be for like 5 yards apiece. So you're
Yeah.
not really going to be getting a lot of the PPR value that you would normally get with a tight end, where they get like, 10-yard catches where, okay, I got 2 points. No, you're going to get 1.2 points per catch. And that just doesn't really add up over time. Higbee, even with the touchdown last week, only registered 12 points. And that's because he had like 27 receiving yards or something on 4 catches. It just didn't work out. But that's really all I had on this one.
Yeah, like you alluded to, the quality of the target is important. And
Right.
with this one, you're not 100% sure what the quality of your targets are going to be.
Yeah.
With Baker in there. So it's tough. It's really tough to kind of sit there and try to assume what he's going to be able to do. It's so up in the air with him right now. So it's really hard to gauge that. But I do think, Denver's going to win this game. Latavius Murray, made me eat my words the last week. So, this may be one of those situations where, just the Broncos or the superior team, they get up and they could run a heavy dose of Latavius Murray. So, it remains to be seen. But I do think Denver is going to get ahead in this one. I do think they're going to stay ahead. So, all right, we'll go ahead and move on to Tampa and Arizona.
All right.
How you feeling about this one? Because
this game's going to be ugly, especially from the Arizona side. You got Trace McSorley starting, so Colt McCoy's not even in. So you can basically say goodbye to all value of Marquise Brown, Robbie Anderson, AJ Green, Greg Dortch, Trey McBride, et cetera, et cetera. D-Hop will still have some value just because it's DeAndre Hopkins, but temper your expectations on him as well. I can see a lot of volume coming James Conner's way, but the quality of that volume remains to be seen. He's made me eat my words before. He's put up, ever since coming back from injury in week 9, right? So starting week 10, he's had a heavy majority of that backfield snap share. Usually gets 14, 15, 16 plus carries, and usually puts in a touchdown or two. There's only one game in the last 5 games that he hasn't put in a touchdown, and that was against the Chargers, where he still put up 120 on the ground and 3 catches for 20 yards. So I think you can start James Conner in this game and feel pretty comfortable about it.
Yeah, I'm good starting Conner, just no other receivers.
That's really about it, though. I'll let you take Tampa.
Yeah, it's similar to what you said. I am perfectly comfortable with just starting James Conner and DeAndre Hopkins, and that's about as far as I'll go with the starting on that team, especially receivers. Like, I'm not a big Hollywood Brown guy, especially with Trace McSorley, but even with Kyler, I wasn't. So even the interesting thing is about the Cardinals too is they have one of the quickest paces of play in the NFL, which just goes to show you which typically would be a fantasy goldmine for people, right? But that just goes to show you how efficiency matters in the grand scheme of things, and especially more so in this. Like they're all about running plays. As many plays as they can get to the line of run, they're going to run them. But they're not efficient, and you're comfortable starting 2 fantasy assets from that team. That's very telling. So like you said, Trace McSorley making, I think is his first start career?
I believe I think he had a start with Baltimore a couple of years ago.
Did he? Okay.
I think.
All right. You got the Bucs still leading in the NFC South, so the Bucs are going to be out there playing for their with a 6-8 record. The Bucs are going to be out there scrapping and fighting because they really need this win. I mean, they control their own playoff destiny. I could not tell you how. But yeah, like I don't know if like Brady is like, we're just waiting for that one week where Brady kind of just clicks, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like we've been waiting all season for that 1 week where he clicks. Because we talked about it last week where we had mentioned that, bet against Tom Brady, or you don't want to just assume that Brady's just going to not show up. But at what point is he going to actually show us something to where we're not fading Tom Brady?
Right.
He's looked like an aging human being, which nobody thought we'd ever do. Had 4 turnovers to start the second half last week.
Yep.
He's averaging career low 6.26 yards per pass attempt. It's like there's no sure thing right now in the Tampa offense, which is why I was kind of hesitant on Godwin, because right now there is no stability there in their offense. So you have one inefficient, unstable offense going against another inefficient, unstable offense. Just one has a worse quarterback. And so yeah, will Arizona pull the upset? No, don't think so. I mean, they can't even. Their coach doesn't even want to be there. So, I'm comfortable in this one. I'm comfortable firing up, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Brady if you have to. I mean, Brady is that type of quarterback that could still Brady could have a bad day and still come out and throw 303 touchdowns.
Sure.
Just because that's how they play. When it's just Brady's going to be throwing the football. I like Rachaad White in this one.
Yeah.
I think Rachaad White's going to have a good game because I do think too that whether the Bucs are playing from ahead or whether they're down a little bit, Rachaad White fits either way. You can use him in the passing downs. You can use him to kind of control the game and run up the middle. So I like Rachaad White in this one. Godwin and Evans, you're firing up no matter what. So not much more to say on that one. I do think Tampa wins, but that Tampa is a 7.5 point favorite. That is pretty steep considering how they played.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean 6-8 versus 4-10, two offenses that don't know their identity whatsoever. That one's gonna be rough.
Yeah. I think Tom Brady's a solid streaming option this week. Just because Cardinals defense has just not been good whatsoever.
No. Nope.
I think Rachaad White and Leonard Fournette, I'd be comfortable with both of them.
Yep.
On paper, you would anticipate the Bucs to get ahead in this game and just let the run game kind of speak for itself for the rest of the game. Just kind of keep the ball away from Arizona, just keep the ball in Tampa's hands kind of thing. But that is also, if Arizona wants any chance to win this game, that's going to be the key to them, is they need to keep the ball in their hands, keep the ball out of Tom Brady and the Bucs offense hands, get those, 15, 20 play drives, eat up a lot of clock that really, that you see James Conner get a lot of carries, just kind of live life 4 yards at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really just kind of where we're at with it. Right. So I expect a good first half from the likes of Evans and Godwin. And hopefully, there will be a big, heavy run game in the second half to just eat up the clock. That's really what I'm tracking on this game.
Yep, that's about what I'm hoping for. I just think it's the only way this is a good game isn't because of the play on the field, just if it comes down to the wire and it gets interesting. Right. It's not going to be because of any good football being played.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. And then we can slide over to Monday night, touch on that real briefly, and then we can go over some recaps and performances from yesterday. So, Chargers in Indianapolis. Chargers -4, over under 45.5. Indy 4-9-1, just coming off that, whatever you want to call that, game against Minnie.
Yeah.
And then the Chargers playing well.
They are playing well.
Herbert's looking sharper lately. So, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely like the Chargers in this one. I think you're finally seeing the Chargers hit their stride with all of their players healthy, right? You had a lot of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen out for the first, half, or a little bit over the first half of the season. Eckler had a slow start to the year before he blew up, and then he
Herbert
came
was
back
banged
out,
up.
but he scored a touchdown. What's that?
Herbert was banged up.
Herbert was banged up with the rib injury. Yeah. So you're seeing a lot of it finally come to fruition. They're hitting their stride, and the wins are starting to come now. The Chargers find themselves at 8-6, very respectable record. Win one more, and boom, you have yourself a winning season. Keenan Allen, no injury designation. Mike Williams, no injury designation. I would expect Gerald Everett to get his, consistent 4 or 5 catches on the season. It's just kind of what he's done. There's been very few games that he hasn't had just his 4 or 5 catches. It all comes back down to that quality of the touch, really. Because sometimes he's gotten 5 catches for 36 yards. Other times he goes for 5 and 80 or 5 and 61 and a touchdown. Like, he does only have 2 touchdowns in the year. I would like to see him get in the end zone this year, but Gerald Everett's never really been a big touchdown kind of machine.
No.
He's been kind of a consistent, steady, just kind of there when you need him kind of thing. So Eckler, I think, is going to run all over this defense. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams going to do the same thing. Everett, I think, is going to get his as well. And I think the Chargers come out of this one relatively comfortably.
Yeah. This one's going to be interesting to see the Colts' response. It's kind of like in a situation, it's like, where do we go? They blew the 33-0 lead. Do they come back, compete, or do they just kind of become a shell of themselves, of what was already a shell of themselves, and then
right.
So I'm curious to see if they come out fighting or anything like that. They're eliminated from the postseason, and they're making a quarterback change. So, I don't know if the Colts will even make this a game, to be honest with you. Which worry, the only, because I love Mike. Like I said, I love Mike Williams this week. I love Keenan Allen this week. I just hope that this isn't one of those things where the Colts just come out and throw a complete dud on the field.
Yeah. So
to the point where the Chargers aren't even needing to throw the ball that much. I hope they can keep it competitive. That way we can really get a big dose of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, because we need a game where there's both of those guys just go off and make you realize why you held on to them all season if you have on your rosters. Because, this year it's been a whole lot of, you had your Josh Palmers, your DeAndre Carters, but we need one real huge game from both of those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, the Colts are the type of team, the way they play, they will shorten the game, which leads me to believe that it'll stay closer than not. So hopefully in this one we can get a close game. That way the Chargers can be throwing the rock. And who are the Colts starting? Foles?
Yes. Nick Foles will be the starter for the remainder of the season.
Yeah. Interesting. I have no idea how that's going to look. Like zero.
Who knows?
Like in my head, it's one of those things that it's like he could actually come out there and it happens a lot, I feel like, in college, where you'll have a quarterback come out there and then he gets hurt, he's struggling, he gets hurt or something, and the backup comes in and just lights it up.
Yeah.
I'm almost wondering if this is an instance where Nick Foles might just come out and do that and just start just throwing dimes everywhere. But yeah, so this one's pretty much going to be Chargers, in my opinion. The spread is 4, so hopefully it stays within that range.
Hopefully Vegas knows.
Too crazy. It's going to be 25 degrees, which may
Yeah.
also hurt the Chargers just a bit because the game is in Indy and it says it's supposed to be light snow. So we'll see how that ends up working out with them.
Well, they're in a dome. Lucas Oil Stadium. Yeah.
You're right. So I don't even know why they gave me the weather report on this because on this screen it has the spread, the money line, the over under, and the pregame odds history, and then it has the weather report. And so I'm like, why the hell does that matter in this one? Because they put it there with all the betting stuff.
I got you.
All right. Well, just in case you want to bet anybody, tell them it's 25 degrees light snow, and make sure they don't realize it's in a dome.
There you go.
I completely forgot they played in the dome.
2 steps ahead, right?
Speaking of, we need more domes. We need more roofs in football, I feel like.
Yeah. I think Cleveland needs a dome. Like, I think there are some stadiums
Buffalo?
that, like, what's that?
Buffalo?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? I think there are some stadiums where we have gotten such amazing cold weather games that it's almost like, no, keep the fucking cold weather. And then there's other games where you're just like, this is atrocious. I don't want to watch this team. Put them in a dome.
Or the game nearly gets postponed because they can't fly out.
Right. But mainly I'm talking Buffalo and Green Bay, right? Some of the best snow games, right?
Yeah.
Green Bay has the Ice Bowl. Buffalo has the Shady McCoy from a few years ago. Like those types of games. I mean, Buffalo had a good snow game against Miami just a couple weeks ago or last
And they
week.
love that advantage, yeah.
Absolutely. But then you have like the likes of Soldier Field in Chicago, right? Where it's like everyone's miserable. The field looks like absolute shit. It just, put them in a dome. I 100% agree on that one.
Everyone except Buffalo and Green Bay.
Yeah.
Put them in a dome.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Speaking of Seahawks players out there shirtless, really
I saw that.
Really didn't perform well, considering how they came out with that energy.
They froze up. Geno Smith had a terrible game.
They ever freeze up? I mean, they had no pass offense, so clearly it didn't work. Next time, just go ahead and bundle up for your warm-ups.
Yeah. Let's talk about now that we're done with the previews here, let's talk about our biggest disappointments from yesterday, and then we can talk about our biggest, impressions from yesterday. So, who was your biggest disappointment from yesterday's Christmas Eve games?
Let's see. I think for people that I talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna use disappointment in 2 senses of the word because we had the disappointment that is Marquise Goodwin because he got hurt.
Yep. Well, see, with injuries, like, it's hard to say. Like,
yeah. We also had the disappointment. I had the disappointment of Kenneth Walker because, boy, did he ever get the volume. But that offense did not put him in a situation to score a touchdown.
He had a Damian Pierce kind of game.
It was him and only him. And so everything that needed to happen was there, except just the fact that the pass offense just was gone against a defense that isn't good against the pass. It was just like Geno, I don't know what he was doing back there half the time. He was running for his life when he didn't have to. He wasn't making quick reads. Like he was just there kind of, I don't know. He just seemed a little lax compared to what he usually is. I mean, Kenneth Walker, 26 carries, 107 yards, 2 receptions. Like, can you get that man to the goal line, please? Like, that's all he was missing was a score, and he would have had an amazing day. He just needed that touchdown because then we had guys that we were low on, like Kamara. Well, Kamara had a touchdown that saved his day. He 20 carries, 76 yards. It's not a great day. But he had a touchdown. Saved it for him. I would say my biggest disappointment was in that sense of it, Kenneth Walker. And then J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
Because again,
was on my
J.K.
list.
Dobbins had 50 some odd yards early in that game. And then, I mean, he had 22 snaps. He had ran 7 routes, but he only got 1 target, 12 carries.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're running him on 7 routes, he gets 1 target. Gus Edwards is running 21 in snaps. So J.K. did have the majority of the snaps, but, you know, Gus Edwards came out there and took part of the share. Right when J.K. Dobbins, I felt like, was getting it rolling, Gus Edwards came out there and they rode Gus Edwards. So,
Yeah.
it was one of those things where it's like we fell victim to the Ravens backfield, and we know better, but I just thought J.K. was going to come back and they were going to let him finally just kind of go, right?
I mean, he did okay.
He did. No, he had a
carry.
He had a good game, but I just wish he would have got more touches and
Sure.
more opportunities, because
Absolutely.
like I said, he came out and got 50-something yards early. And I wanted to see what kind of the day that could have led to. But again, they just started riding Gus Edwards a whole lot. So, off the top of my head, those are the ones that I can think of.
Okay.
What about you?
So there was one disappointment that I really had, that it wasn't really his fault. He kind of got schemed out of the game. And it was Jerick McKinnon. Everything we said that was going to happen last week, where it was going to be an Isaiah Pacheco game because they were going to go up and stuff like that, right? It happened this week. McKinnon did get the touchdown early on.
Yeah,
he got
that touchdown
catches and the touchdown early, very quickly. But then, like, that was it. We never saw him the rest of the game. Why? Yep. Because they were up by 2 touchdowns at the time, and Seattle just never put anything on the field that was able to really make it a close game again. So there is that. J.K. Dobbins was on my list as well. Stephon Diggs was a big disappointment for me. They threw the ball. Gabe Davis had a great day. Dawson Knox even had a great day for his standards. And Stephon Diggs only had 2 targets, 2 catches, 26 yards. Like, where was that? I don't really know what that was all about. I guess they just didn't straight up need him. But from someone who has Stephon Diggs on their roster in one of their leagues, I was in the semifinals this week. Like, now I find myself down by a lot of points just because of that kind of dud. The only other dud I can really think of is Justin Fields. We see what happens when he doesn't get the run game going. 7 carries for 11 yards, does finish for 119 through the air and a touchdown, only gets 9.86 points. And that's not what you want out of Justin Fields, right? You want him to run the ball. His passing was pretty much on par with everything that's been going on. 14, 15 completions, or give or take roughly 20 passing attempts. And then you get the 10 plus carries for 100 plus yards and a touchdown on the ground. That would have been perfectly fine. But yeah, Buffalo did a good job of containing the run game there. I could get in a little nitty gritty with, or split hairs with some other disappointments as well. But those are really my biggest ones. Yeah.
And if we go into kind of players we were somewhat right about. So one that was interesting, because I predicted yesterday for Taysom Hill, I said I think he would get around 9 to 10 carries.
Yep.
And you just got to hope one of those goes for a touchdown. Well, he had 9 carries, 56 yards, and a touchdown. So that kind of worked out. If anybody did fire another disappointment that I forgot to bring up was Mark Andrews. It's like, until he gets a quarterback who can get him the ball.
Yeah.
Like, he's unplayable right now, I feel like.
Ramondre Stevenson as well.
Yeah, Ramondre Stevenson. Yeah. And that fumble at the end, man, that just
13 carries, 30 yards on the ground, 2 catches for 3 yards through the air, 2 fumbles, losing one of them.
Yeah.
Terrible.
But that's one of those things like Ramondre Stevenson, he's got you to the dance.
Yeah.
You're right. Bad, you got to rock with him.
Right.
You know. So another one that we were big on. Well, I was big on Hawkinson, but he had a day. But DJ Moore, we both said we weren't going to let him bite us in the ass twice, 2 weeks in a row. He had 5 receptions, 83 yards, and a touchdown. So big day from him. Big day from D'Onta Foreman. I said I thought D'Onta Foreman was going to get more opportunities than Chuba.
I mean, both had a great game.
But 165 yards, I was not expecting that from D'Onta Foreman. Yeah, they both ate. I mean, that offense ran for what? Did they go over 300 yards total?
I think they did.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
They just went completely out there and ran all over Detroit. Carolina is that team that could literally get completely shut down one week and then just like they did run for 300 yards on you. It's I don't understand it, but it is what it is. It made for an interesting game. Detroit, man, they couldn't get out of their own way. I feel like Shane Zylstra, who the fuck is that guy? 3 touchdowns.
Shout
Where
out
every
Zylstra with the hat
fantasy
trick.
owner, man, Detroit fantasy owners were fucking slamming the fucking table because every time they threw a touchdown, it was Zylstra.
Yeah.
Like it's like he's rostered in 0.0% of leagues, and the man had 3 touchdowns.
After this week, he's not.
That was tough. Yeah, people are going to pick him up just to be disappointed when he doesn't do it after.
I'd like to take a quick victory lap on Devin Singletary.
And James Cook.
Yep. 12 carries for Devin Singletary, 106 on the ground and a touchdown. Also had 2 catches for 19 yards, finished with 21 fantasy points. Yeah, I hope you listen to me on that one and not on some others.
Yeah. Yeah, him and James Cook both ate. Like, that was fun. That was fun to watch. And if
James Cook, 11 carries, 99 yards on the ground and a touchdown, a catch for 9 yards, registers 18,
right? Yeah. Yep. So, man, if the Bills can keep that run game going, look out. They are going to be hard to beat because that 2-headed monster right now is kicking on all cylinders.
Yep.
And it's the perfect time for it to be rolling, going right into the playoffs.
Yep.
So Derrick Henry didn't go for 200 yards against the Texans. That was good. He only went for 126. The Texans won. So we had mentioned Chris Moore. Chris Moore ended up 62 snaps, 33 route runs with only 3 targets. But then you had Cooks in there, which was kind of my it's one of those things. If Nico and Cooks are out, which Nico was out, you're firing up Chris Moore. If Cooks is in, you're robbing Chris Moore. That's kind of where we're at with him at this point.
Yeah.
Amari Rodgers had a big catch there towards the end. Former Packer.
Happy for him. Happy for him. He was dog shit with Green Bay.
Yeah, he had 8 routes run, 2 targets. And one of them was one of the most important targets of the game.
Yeah.
So who else? Let me see here.
I'll call a push on Darius Slayton. He didn't do bad. He didn't do great. 4 catches, 79 yards, registered 12 fantasy points. I was high on him. I thought he would go for more than 12. But I mean, if you started him, like over the likes of say like I don't know, like Zay Jones or something like that, you're definitely happy with the decision.
Yep.
So yeah, shout out to Darius Slayton.
And here's one that we had hesitancy on, but Devontae Smith ended up going berserk.
Yeah.
And I had mentioned I was kind of hesitant on him just because I didn't know what this offense was going to look like a Minshew.
Right.
And I know of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith is the more volatile of the two. But, all right, well, we saw what he can do with Minshew in there. So, yeah, 2 touchdowns. He had a day for sure. And then who's the other one? There was another one that I wanted to mention that Down Singletary.
While
James
you
Cook.
think of that real quick, we did just get a
Jahan
question in the
Dotson.
comments here. The fan club says, "Hey guys, should I play Lazard or Deion Jackson this week? What do you guys think?"
You're Lazard.
Yeah. Man, it's tough to say, right? Because Deion Jackson, in the one game that he did get to start this year,
Mhm.
he went off.
Yep.
But that was also not with Nick Foles.
Yep.
We don't really know what any of that's going to be looking like. Let's see here. It's also a Monday night game. So, I mean, if you start Deion Jackson and then Lazard goes off here in 10 minutes, like it's rough.
I'm
probably rolling Lazard.
I think I'm leaning Lazard.
Yeah, I'm going Lazard. So Deion Jackson had one great game.
Yep.
And that was against a pretty easy defense with Jacksonville. The Chargers defense has been doing great these past couple weeks. So I'm probably looking for the Chargers to lock up Deion Jackson. And I'm going, give me Allen Lazard.
Yeah, I'm Lazard in this one. You'd say because I thought you were just going to be like Lazard, but I know you got to.
I wanted to give an unbiased. I wanted to think about it. I just,
I know, yeah, for sure. No. But I'm right there with you. Yeah, I think Allen Lazard right now. I think he gives you a better, a little bit more stability. And yeah, Deion Jackson is just going to be hard for me to fire up over Lazard for sure.
Right.
I mean, it's close. Don't get me wrong, it is close, but I think I have slightly Lazard.
Sure.
Especially considering the QB.
Yeah.
Even though I don't have a whole lot of confidence in your boy there. So.
Yeah.
But all right, thanks for the question. I appreciate that, man. All right. So is there anything else?
I think that was really about it. I can't think of any other players that we really gassed up too much. I mean, the other one still
no worries, man.
Yet to play.
He said thanks for it.
Yeah. There weren't the other players that we really gassed up have yet to play. They play today. Aaron Jones is a big one for me. Mike Williams was a big one you were gassing up yesterday, and he plays tomorrow. So we'll see what that's all about.
The biggest one besides Kenneth Walker was the highest on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I'd like to give a shout out to George Kittle. This dude has been on fire.
Unbelievable,
these past
right?
Few weeks.
He's a different person with Purdy in there.
Oh my goodness.
That was when the change happened, I think, right when Purdy took over.
Weeks. Yeah. Insane.
Yeah, he's
absolutely.
He's killing it as long as Purdy's in there, which will probably be this year.
You have George Kittle
only.
And you're in the semifinals and he puts up that performance for you. More than likely you're going to the championship.
Yep.
And you get George Kittle against the Las Vegas Raiders next week.
Yep.
So
hopefully he didn't sell on Kittle when he was struggling.
Yeah.
Because right now he's a potential league winner, especially with the state of the tight end position as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing too that
and if you're sitting there and you bought low on George Kittle, you're feeling like a king right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like, I tried to buy on Kittle a couple times, but the price tag was still so high. People hold Kittle still such a high light just because of a name value that he was a hard get.
The guy in my redraft league that had him, I tried to buy Kittle a couple times because he also had Dallas Goedert. But he's one of those guys that just like he was impossible to get a hold of. Like never answered his text or never answered his trade offers or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I just gave up after being ghosted for so long.
That's how that league I'm in with that standard league I'm in. Nobody wants to respond to trades or anything. It's just constant waiver wire pickups. And that shit at all. I was like, all right, I'm over this.
Yeah.
All right. So anything else before we hop off here and go ahead and get our lineup set and get it rolling?
that should be it for me. Go Pat, go.
All right, man. Well, that's all from us. Yeah, we had just a casual Sunday show, just hopping on here and going over some stuff from yesterday. Overall, we had a pretty good day yesterday as far as helping out picking stuff. So, just not a whole lot of insane fantasy days. It was just except for if your name's Zylstra
Or TJ Hawkins.
for whatever reason you learned how to play football and got your
Oh,
powers
T.
back
Higgins. Shout out to T. Higgins. Great day.
Monstar. T. Higgins had a game. Yeah, T. Higgins had a day. Contrary to your old boy out there, not top 5 quarterback, Joey B.
Fucking washed, dude.
Oh, is he? Is he going to be washed next year?
He's
One
a
of these
product the
years.
system.
That's like everybody waiting on Tom Brady's downfall.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
till he's
guys, we'll-
45 and then
What happened?
I was saying, yeah, Tom Brady, wait till he's 45, and then you're like, oh, I called it.
Yeah, it
Fucking 10
took him to
years
be 45 and a divorce to actually make him human again.
ago. He's still going to throw for 4,000 yards.
True. That's what he
Oh,
does. I mean, all right. Well, that'll do it for us today on Cheesy Corn Sports. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, turn the bell notification on so that way you'll be alerted when we go live. Drop a comment on any of our videos. We're open for suggestions for improvements or anything like that. And we'll be back next week to hopefully help you win your fantasy championships. So with that, we are going to go ahead and sign off for the day. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, everybody. Cheney, one last for the road.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Go, Pat, go. We will see you guys back here on New Year's Day for fantasy championships. We will see you guys then.
Yes, sir. Peace out, everybody.
Thanks for checking out the Cheesy Corn Sports Podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss an episode. For more information or to connect with Justin and Martin, check out Cheesy Corn Sports on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll see you next time on Cheesy Corn Sports.